Hi, I'm Steve Casely from CBT Nuggets, and this nugget is focused on the Prince2 themes. Themes are parts of the project. Themes are things that we need to do as project managers that are continuously addressed throughout the project life cycle. And there are 7 themes in Prince2 that we'll overview in this nugget, and then we'll review these 7 themes again in much more detail in future nuggets in this series, so that it's really clear what's the difference between a theme and a process, and the Prince2 approach we're going to discuss in the next nugget, which are principles. Themes are reoccurring project components. We're going to start our themes in planning, and then we're going to continue. We're going to update. We're going to monitor. And we're going to work on these themes throughout the life cycle. So what are these themes? The business case. We're going to start the business case. Talked about this already. You're going to hear a lot about the business case, because if there's one theme that's paramount in Prince2, it's the business case. The business case identifies the project requirements and does the project justification. We started in planning, we continue, we deliver against the business case throughout the project, and we review and update the business case at the end of every stage. The organization is another theme. We're going to define our project organization at the kickoff for the project, and we're going to maintain the organization, and we're going to review and update and keep the organization current as organizational changes happen throughout our project. Project plans. We're going to develop the project plans incrementally. We're going to develop a high-level approach to our project during planning, and then we're going to do progressive refinement to the project plans at the end of every stage. We're going to continually track progress throughout our project. We're going to have the original vision for the project in planning, and then we're going to update it and track our actuals against that plan and report status against the plan. Risk management is paramount in Prince2. We need to identify the future unknown bad things that can impact our project and take appropriate actions to eliminate them throughout the project. Quality is an intrinsic part of our project. We need to understand what the business's expectations for quality is at the beginning, what their terms of acceptance are going to be, and then build the project processes, the activities into the project plan to assign the work necessary throughout the project to ensure that we're going to deliver the exact specifications of quality the business expects. And finally, change. Change is inevitable in a project. We need to ensure our project is built to support change, and more importantly, our project is built to manage change so that the change can be applied to the project in a controlled fashion, as opposed to the proverbial scope creep, where change happens randomly and uncontrolled. The themes are part of every day in the project and will occur throughout the project processes and are intrinsic into the principles that we're going to review in our next nugget. And the business case is the first of these themes. And although we've talked an awful lot about the importance of the business case and the fact that the business case needs to be perpetually maintained throughout the project, we really haven't focused a lot on what the business case contains. So in this overview, we're going to start to define exactly what is in that business case. The business case defines the scope of the project. It defines what it is, precisely what it is that the business wants. I need a new project that's going to deliver X for me. And just that one sentence, I need a new project to define X for me, isn't a business case. So we need to provide the what with clarity. And writing a good business case is a lot of work. In addition, we need to understand the motivation, the why. I need X completed because I'm using too many staff. I need X completed because I'm not providing appropriate customer service. I need X completed because, so that we truly understand the reasons, the pain points that the business is encountering. And with those pain points in mind, the project team will be far more able to satisfy the what. And finally, the for who. Who is this project being done for? And it's not simply enough to say this project is being done for the organization, and it's not enough to say the project is being done for the warehouse department. The project is being done for the warehouse clerks, so the warehouse clerks have a better understanding of where product is in the warehouse. Or the project is being done for warehouse management, so the management have a more complete understanding of the amount of product in inventory, so that they can have a better appreciation for when they should be ordering, for when they should be doing movements, for when they should be, etc., etc. So the key aspect to the business case is defining the scope of the project, what it is we want to do, why it needs to be done, and the specific parts of the business that the project is being done for. And this helps the team understand their scope. Now, the part of the business case that we spent so much time on in this Nugget series to date is the benefit statement. Not so much the why. The why is more the words. We need this so that we have a better understanding of where the inventory is. But the benefits, this is the justification. This is the dollar signs that can be saved as a result of having less inventory on hand. This is the labor that can be saved as a result of not running around the warehouse randomly looking for product. This is the improved customer service because we can ship orders faster. This is the improved customer service because we can eliminate the number of back orders. The benefit statement, again, is probably expressed enough already in this Nugget series, helps us justify, helps us get approval for the project, because when senior management sees that if the cost is going to be $50,000 and there's a $10,000 annual benefit or a $20,000 annual benefit, they see they're going to get their money back. And let's face it, everybody is in business for making money, and management is going to be far more likely to approve a project that has a good payback than a project that doesn't have payback. The business case is 100% the responsibility of the business. The project team may have to help write the business case, but the project team cannot own the business case, and the project team cannot produce the information in the business case. Now, we can interview the business, we can write the words for them, and we can present the words back to the business to get approval, but the business case has to remain solely the responsibility of the business. They're the ones that can define the what. They're the ones that can define the why, and they're the ones that can define the for who. So although, again, we, the project team, may help write, and that may be the first thing we take on as part of a project is the writing of the business case, it has to remain the responsibility of the business, even if we are the authors. And finally, business case is not a unique term for Prince2, but business case is absolutely the term we use throughout Prince2. If you've used other project delivery approaches in your previous life or even to date in your organization, the business case is synonymous with what some organizations call the project brief, or what a lot of organizations will call the project charter. And the next key theme in Prince2 is this theme of organization that's going to appear throughout this Nugget series. We've discussed it a lot to date already, and you'll see more and more of this throughout the Nugget series. But the organization is to defining the who's who in the project. And that's the key expectation of the organization, is defining the who's who specific to the project. Recognizing that projects are unique, and therefore we're going to pull together team members from throughout the organization. There may be team members from the warehousing department. There may be team members from the finance department. There will definitely be team members from the IT department. There will be team members from various other areas. So we need to define the who's who so that everybody knows who's working on the project. And I'm currently working on a project now where we have a lot of business people assigned to the project, and it's very important that we have those identified because people will be far more willing, far more expecting of a business team member, someone from finance who's assigned to the project and working on the project to complete deliverables, to be available for meetings, to actively participate in the project, knowing that they're assigned to the project as opposed to a member of finance who has 100% responsibilities for the day-to-day jobs and really don't have time to participate in the project. So it's absolutely critical that we know who is assigned to the project and who has the time to work on the project. Another key component of the organization is we have 3 key roles within the business area that we need to know who and what they are. Who is the owner? Who is this project being done for? And I always describe this as who is the person with the pain? Someone in the business has a business problem. They are the owner, and that's the pain. They have a problem. May not be a physical pain. Hopefully it's not a physical pain, but they have a business challenge. The owner is the person for which this project is being done for, to eliminate that business problem. The owner may be the same person as the sponsor. The sponsor has the dollars. The sponsor is the person who approves the project. The sponsor is the project who approves the expenditure, but the sponsor may not, in fact, be the owner. Typically, the sponsor is a senior management, and the owner is often a level of middle management. But they can be one and the same. And we also need to understand who is the acceptor. Who will approve the work on the project? Often the acceptor, in fact, is the owner, but not always. Again, if the owner is a middle to senior level manager, the owner may not have the time to participate actively in the project on a day-to-day basis and will assign one of their managers or one of their direct reports to be in the acceptor. Here, you work with Steve. You make sure this project is going to satisfy all of my requirements. You are the acceptor. And another level of business level responsibility is the SME, the subject matter expert. And again, these are the people the project is going to go to on a day-to-day, hour-by-hour basis to ask the detailed questions. So we need to know who all these people are, and we need to appreciate and understand their level of assignment to the project so we can manage our expectations of their availability to participate in meetings and so on. Next, we need to truly lay out the team members. Not just the business team members, we've got these laid out here, but who are the IT team members? Who are the external suppliers and vendors and customers that are going to participate in the project? And finally, as discussed at great lengths already, and I'm sorry to say we're going to talk about more and more throughout this Nugget series, is clearly defining the roles and responsibilities so that everybody knows the who's who and everybody knows what their roles and responsibilities on the project are going to be. And our next theme is plans or project plans. And there's no surprise that projects need project plans, so it should be no surprise that Prince2 expects us to have project plans. But again, Prince2 has some specific nuances into project plans, and that's that we would expect to have our project plan delivered at multiple levels. We have our high-level project plan that we do at project initiation that defines the overall objectives and schedule and budget for the project. We're going to refine that project plan for every stage, and then we're going to produce a detailed stage plan, and the stage plan is going to identify all of the minute tasks that are going to be required to complete that stage and that stage only. And if the project is extremely large and complex, we may well take that stage plan and break it down into team plans. So here is the team plan for Team A, and the team plan for Team B, and the team plan for Team C. So one of the key principles of Prince2 is multiple project plans to allow for our plans to be delivered at the level of detail appropriate for where we are. Overall project approach versus a detailed stage versus the day-to-day management of the team. And these project plans are based on the project lifecycle, not the Prince2 process model, or as Steve calls it, the Prince2 lifecycle. This is how the project is going to be delivered. Again, are we using traditional delivery, analysis, design, development? So our stages, our plans are based on the project delivery approach, not specifically on the Prince2 approach, but we also need to ensure we have time for PM. So our project plans need to address both the project delivery lifecycle, analysis, design, development, as well as ensuring there's time in the plan WBS elements have identified for all of the PM activities. And that's not just so that we can justify where Steve is spending his time and to provide a guide for Steve to spend his time, but it's also that we have time for the PM tasks that we're expecting from our team members. We need our team members to produce timesheets. We need our team members to produce status reports. We need our team members to participate in quality activities, which we're going to discuss just a little later in this nugget. So we need to have plans that are comprehensive and complete. And it's that comprehensive complete, again, that I want to stress. It's not just the traditional life cycle, but it's time for everything required to successfully complete the project. It's to identify all of the work, all of the steps to get to the final results. And the final results is not just the delivery of the deliverables, it's the final results to deliver the deliverables that have been QA'd, quality assured, and quality controlled, that have the appropriate audits in place, and that the appropriate status reports and tracking has been done throughout the project to ensure that we're doing project management to get there. Typically, project plans are developed iteratively, incrementally. We do the high-level phase or project approach. Then we do a stage plan, and then we identify all of the activities within the stages, and then we identify all of the tasks or work packages that's going to be assigned to the team to get the job done. They need to be complete, they need to be comprehensive, they need to address all of the tasks, not just the project lifecycle tasks, but all of the tasks. And we typically do our project plans through one of these terms called progressive refinement or evolutionary planning. And it's again laid out here. The first level plan we do at the high level. We're going to do a project that's going to do 2 months of analysis and 3 months of design and 3.5 months of development. And then we're going to do a detailed stage plan that says within the 2 months of analysis, we're going to spend the first 2 weeks doing current situation assessment, and that's the activity level. And then within those 2 weeks, we're going to conduct interviews, we're going to review documentation, and that's the task level. And we do our stage plans, again, progressively evolutionary. We only do the stage plan for analysis, and we leave the stage plan for design, development, and so on for future time in the project. And then, as stated, if we have a large, complex project, we'll do a breakdown and take that stage plan and assign it to the individual teams. And our next theme is progress, or status reporting. Or, if you want to truly generalize, project management. The progress theme is all about tracking and managing the project. We have our plan, whether it is the high-level plan or the stage plan, broken down into activities and tasks. Progress is all about tracking the plan against the actuals. So we had a plan to conduct interviews. And we're going to have Fred do it. And Fred was supposed to spend 12 hours conducting interviews. Progress is going back to Fred and getting his actuals. Fred, how much time did you spend on conducting interviews? Well, it took a little longer than I expected. A few of the people got interrupted halfway through the meeting, so I had to reschedule, and I actually spent 15 hours conducting interviews. Okay, I understand. It's too bad you had to spend that extra time, but I'm glad you did it well. Perfect job, Fred. Thank you very much. But now we have a 3-hour variance on our project. Now, in and of itself, a 3-hour variance is a challenge. Technically speaking, taking this single task, taking 3 hours longer than expected, means our project will probably be 3 hours late delivering. Now, if this is a 6-month project and you're talking about one resource out of 10 delivering 3 hours late on a task, that's going to wash out. That's the amount of time that we're going to take to spend a phone call. But is this a reoccurring theme? Is Fred running, I don't know what the percentage is, 5% over on this particular task? And is Mary and is Sally and is everybody else in the project? That's where the progress becomes so important, is because we track the plan versus the actuals for every task, for every week. And with these details, then we begin to understand, do I truly have a schedule challenge? Or did Fred simply go over for 3 hours on this one, but then when he is documenting results, which had a 10-hour estimate, he actually got it done in 8 because he had done such a bang-up job of conducting the interviews and writing his notes for the interviews. So again, laws of average says for every project task that goes over, there is as likely to be a project task that's going to go under. Well, I'm not sure those laws of averages have ever worked in my projects, but in theory, you should be as likely to go under on a task as over. But we're going to accumulate and we're going to track all of the plans versus all of the actuals, and we're going to determine the impacts on the schedule, on the budget, on the risk, on the quality, on all of the key measures, and that's what progress is all about. We're going to compare them to our project baseline. The project baseline is the original plan that's been approved. So when we kick off our project and we do our project startup, and we present the plan for approval and we get the baseline, that's what we're going to do our progress reporting, checking, validation against. And then we're going to pull in another Prince2 approach, and it's a principle that we're going to discuss in the next series, which is management by exception. When we're tracking these variances and we have management by exception that says PM, Steve, is allowed to control everything within a 10% variance. And when that doesn't work out, he then has to escalate, and the project board can manage everything within 25%. But it's the facts that we get from progress that's going to allow us to put in play this management by exception principle that we'll review in the next Nugget series. And we're going to take all of this progress and we're going to report it back to our management. We're going to report back project challenges and we're going to report back project successes. And risk is our next theme. And in my humble opinion, risk management is one of the more complex PM activities, especially for new people just becoming familiar with project management with Prince2. And why is risk one of the more complex PM activities? Because risk is all about trying to identify proactivities to eliminate or minimize future events. I do dream and worry. I sit back and I think about what bad things could happen on my project. And I think, well, there could be some learning curve challenges. Or I think, well, we could have some performance challenges. Or I think, well, the database may not be able to support the degree of data we want to put into it. In theory, I put everything in place. I've got the training I need for my team. I've bought enough hardware that's going to support the volumes of data. I've validated that the database we're using should be able to support the volumes that we're putting in. But you know what? I've got a concern. So these are those unknown future events. I'm dreaming and worrying. I'm sitting back and I'm thinking about what could happen on my project, and I have some concerns. So risk management is all about trying to put together proactive things so that I can eliminate, I can minimize, I can keep my project on track by not allowing these future things to happen. And we do that through risk identification and risk analysis. This is the dream and worry time. I have a concern that learning curve for this new programming language is going to be a problem. Well, that's my risk identification. My analysis is I go out to the web, I do some research of my new software vendor's website, I explore what training is available, I validate my team's already attended the training, I validate that I can bring a trainer in sight, but I do all of the analysis possible to see what's out there in the world to eliminate that risk, and then I take my actions. I eliminate the risk. I bring the trainer in, and I ensure my team is overtrained, or I mitigate. I send half of my team on training, and then I expect that half of the team to come back and do on the job, looking over the shoulder training to help the rest of the team members get over the learning curve. Or I believe that the learning curve is going to be so substantial that I hire a consultant who is a known, recognized expert in this particular programming language, and I hire this consultant to come in and do all of the complex critical coding in this particular programming language so I transfer the risk that my team won't be able to do it, and I hire a consultant to do it. Or maybe I just say, I have a concern. I believe the team is well trained. I believe they've got enough time under their belt with this new programming language. I really don't think it's good expenditure of my corporate dollars to invest in more training. I'm just going to watch this like a hawk. I'm going to accept it. I'm going to worry about it for a little while, but you know what? I think it's okay, but I'm just going to continue to track and worry about it. And when we do that accept, we're still probably going to build in a contingency. I'm going to worry about it, but I'm going to ask the boss, ask the business sponsor for a few more dollars, for a little more time. Should that learning curve happen, that yes, I think I'm okay, but should it happen, I have the ability to react. And I have the ability to react without truly impacting the project's progress, without impacting the project's budget, because I have built in a little bit of extra time and a little bit extra money. Again, risk is a very complex theme, and we'll have an entire nugget to help you better understand effective risk management for your project. And next and second last is quality. Quality must be built into our project, and we start with identifying the quality expectations. And again, this is something I think a lot of entry-level project managers need to have a full appreciation for. We need to understand the quality expectations. And it's not appropriate to say projects always deliver 100% high quality, because especially if this is an IT project, and again, that's my expectation, is we're going through this for IT projects. That's the focus for Prince2, but it's not exclusive to IT projects. There will be some degree of tolerance for less than perfect. And I always like to use buying a new home example as opposed to an IT example. We want our new home to be absolutely perfect. And when we go into that new home to do our final inspection and final walkthrough, our heart is set on a perfect new home. But when we're going through and doing that inspection, we're probably going to find some quality challenges. We walk into a bedroom and we open the closet door and we notice a piece of baseboard missing from one of the walls in the closet. The door had been shut when they were putting the baseboard in, and the carpenter missed a piece of baseboard. That's a flaw. That's a less than perfect. Are we going to tell them, I will not buy your house because this piece of baseboard is missing? Probably not. If we're truly tolerant, we're going to just sort of say, well, I really wish it was there, but it's not going to impact my ability to enjoy the house. I'll accept it as is. Or probably more appropriately, we're going to put a conditional acceptance in. I will continue to inspect this home. I will continue to accept and sign off on moving in, but you must fix that. You must get a carpenter in within the next 5 business days to replace that piece of finish. And we continue to do our inspection, and we find a couple of paint chips in another bedroom, and we find a missing drawer pull in the kitchen, and we find maybe a total of 10 of these very minor flaws. We're probably again going to accept the home, and we're going to call up the movers and say, move me in, but we're either going to just turn the blind eye to them and say, I'll fix them myself, or we're going to put that conditional acceptance in and say, you must fix this very quickly. And that's what I say, we're identifying the quality expectations. We will allow the project to conclude if it's less than perfect. Now, going back to our home inspection, if we walked up to the house and the front door was missing, we're probably not going to move in. That's not a minor flaw, that's a serious flaw, and we're not going to accept that. And we walk into the home and we try to turn on a bedroom light and sparks come flying out of the light switch. That's not a minor flaw. We're not going to accept that. So we absolutely have some quality expectations of what is critical and we will accept or not accept, and what is minor and we will accept and not accept. So we need to identify the quality expectations up front and be prepared to accept the project within those bounds. And then we need to define the project to achieve the quality. What degree of inspections, what degree of reviews, what quality processes do we need to build in to deliver a house to those quality expectations? Do we need to have an inspector into the house 10 days before final walkthrough, another inspector 5 days before final walkthrough, another inspector 1 day before final walkthrough to ensure that the house is 100% perfect, that the paint chips are taken care of, that the drawer pulls are installed, and that the baseboard is all installed? Or do we simply say, each carpenter, as you complete a room, walk through it and perform your own quality inspection to make sure that the project is going to achieve the quality expectations? And to me, the key aspect is we define the acceptance criteria during planning. How will I accept the project? I will accept the project if there are no critical faults. And I think that's a given. We're not going to accept the project if there are any critical faults. I'll accept the project if there's one serious. And a serious fault is it does not impact the structural integrity of the house, does not impact my ability to safely use the house, but it's serious. There is a door missing in a bedroom. There is some other very serious fault, and I'll accept the house if there's only one of those. If there's two, I'm not accepting the house. These must be repaired before I move in. And I'll accept the house if there's no more than 10 minor faults. So again, if the baseboard is missing, if there's 2 paint chips and there's a single drawer pull missing, yeah, I'll accept the house provided you get them fixed. But if every bedroom has faults, and by the time we're done the inspection, we have a laundry list of 35 things that are minor faults that need to be fixed, we're going to begin to seriously question the integrity, the workmanship of that home. And again, we're probably not going to accept the home if there's 35 of these minor faults. Acceptance criteria is often synonymous with this term fit for use. And we're defining fit for use by these criteria. And the key is, as I've said already, the quality must be in the plan. There must be time for the team to inspect, to audit, to peer review, to etc. Because if the only time allocated for the team is producing deliverables, and there's no time allocated to the team to do the quality activities, let's face it, the quality activities are not going to get done, and we're not going to be able to deliver the plan within the terms of the acceptance criteria. And our final theme is change. Change happens. We're fooling ourselves if we take on a project and say, change isn't going to happen. I've spent all of this time to plan my project. I've created this beautiful project plan. I have this impeccable schedule. I have this well-defined budget, and I'm going to deliver to those exact conditions. If we take on that attitude, I'm going to say our project is going to fail because change is inevitable. Whether we're building a home or whether we're building a piece of IT software, change is going to happen. We're building our home, we produced our beautiful project plan, and we spec'd out average level carpet. The homeowner comes in and says, you know what, I've been thinking, I don't really like carpet. I believe the current trend is hardwood floor. I'd like to change my living room flooring from carpet to hardwood. If we say, no, I'm sorry, I can't do that. I spec'd carpet. I'm only going to do carpet. You don't get your hardwood. We're going to have an unhappy customer. We're going to have an unhappy homeowner, and we could make our homeowner unhappy to the point that they're going to say, fine, I'm going to cancel the contract, and you have a home that you aren't going to sell to me. So that's the fact. Change is going to happen. IT projects are going to have change. The flip side to that is homeowner comes in and says, yes, I know there's carpet, but I want hardwood. The builder says, fine, my carpet is spec'd out at $14 per square foot, and I have no idea what carpet costs, and hardwood is going to cost $20 per square foot. Therefore, there's a $6 square foot per $6 per square foot change. Will you approve the change? Homeowner says, yeah, absolutely. I knew the hardwood was going to be more expensive. Here's my approval to spend that extra money. Please go ahead. So we need to ensure we're prepared to support change, because change will happen, but we need to manage the change. We need to support it. We need to manage it. We need to document it. And we need to get it approved. So those are our next aspects to proper change management. We need to do the assessment. We need to document what the impact is. We need to identify the impact to the time, to the dollars, to the scope, to everything else associated with our project, and then we need to present it to the customer and get it approved. Change is inevitable, so we need to manage the change and allow change to happen in a controlled fashion. And our second aspect of change management, as defined by Prince 2, is configuration management. We need to manage all the parts. Now, I can't really find probably the same scenario for my home building example for parts, but in an IT project, we're going to have documentation, we're going to have code, we're going to have third-party software, we need to manage the versions of all of the above. The first time a document gets produced, it's probably going to be in draft mode, and we're going to have a 0.1 through 0. Version. We present it to the business for acceptance. We're going to move our version to 1.0. We're going to get it formally accepted, and that version is going to be locked down. Over the project, change is going to happen, and we may need to change our requirements document, and we're going to produce maybe a minor version, a 1.1, and we're going to present it for acceptance, or maybe it's a very significant change and it needs to go to a 2.0. So we need to have configuration management in place so that we can manage change to our documentation, so that we can manage versioning. The same applies to code. We need to have a configuration management tool, a software versioning tool, so that, again, we can properly manage the code so that we always know what the current tested release of code is going to be, so that when we're doing builds, we're not getting into versioning challenges. Oh, we just built with the wrong version of the customer maintenance module. So we need to have effective configuration management in place for our code, and we need to have effective configuration management in place for any other pieces of software, any other components that our project is going to use. Considerable attention needs to be paid to configuration management so that we are delivering the latest piece of work, that we're managing all of the parts for our project. And that concludes this overview of the Prince2 themes. In this nugget, we talked about the importance of the business case that defines the scope and defines the justification. And that the business case must be continually updated at the end of every stage so that we are working on justified projects. We talked about the importance of the organization because we have a temporary group of people working on the project. So everybody that's temporarily assigned to our project needs to know the who's who and needs to know what the roles and responsibilities are so that they can successfully interact with the project team. We talked about the importance of plans. We have project plans, which is the overall goal, vision, timeline for the project. We have stage plans, which are developed at the beginning of each stage, which identifies all of the details for that particular stage. And we may even break that down into team plans, where we have large, complex projects and multiple teams, so that we identify all of the work packages necessary to complete the project successfully. We talked about the importance of managing progress, tracking the actuals, against the baseline. And the baseline are these plans so that we can measure and report on variances. And we introduced the concept of management by exceptions, which we'll review in more detail in the next nugget on principles, so that we are working within our power and authority to ensure our project successfully delivers. We introduced this very complex project management principle called RISK, where we proactively manage the future. And that's the complex aspect to risk, is where we're proactively managing the future to try to prevent unknown bad things from happening on our project by taking proactive actions now to eliminate them, to transfer them, to avoid them, so that our project is going to complete successfully. We talked about the importance of quality must be built in to ensure that we're going to deliver the project within our customers' defined acceptance criteria. And finally, change is inevitable, so we need to have effective change management so that we're managing change. And without trying to sound simplistic, if we don't manage change, change is going to take over our project, and change is going to turn into this thing that we always refer to as scope creep, except I always like to call it scope gallop, because change doesn't happen slowly if we don't manage it. Change can happen at an astronomical pace, but if we successfully manage change, we analyze change, we document change, and we approve change, we're going to successfully deliver the project to our customers' expectations. This concludes our nugget overviewing the Prince2 themes. I hope this module was informative for you, and thank you very much for viewing.